Welcome back, Real Estate Business Builders. Lars Hedenborg here, the founder of Real Estate B School. We have Jennifer Wehner today. She's in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona, in that market. And her team will do 300 million this year. And Jennifer shared with me that that was almost not acceptable. Like big goals. Next year, the goal is 500 million, which is just awesome. So Jennifer, real quick, kind of unpack like your story briefly. And then I want to just dig into your journey and how'd you go 18 years in the business? You know, what did the different sort of growing pains look like? And when did you start the team and your first hire? And we'll get into all of that, but give us a quick intro.
All righty. I like to kick it off with a little music, like. So I just picked up the harmonica a month ago, and I think everyone should play an instrument, and that's the easiest one. But I have been an agent for 18 years. I now run a team of 40 agents and growing. Have a network of agents throughout the country of 370. I am an entrepreneur, so I have passive forms of income in terms of investments and JVs with title, insurance, all the different pillars that, that are all interconnected to the experience, but, monetizing from it and coming at it from an owner perspective. If I haven't mentioned, I'm mom of 4, 6, 12, 6, 11, 15, and 25. So quite my hands full, but I believe in both professional and domestic leverage. Also, just for fun, I am a polymath. So I love to learn about science, psychology. I'm an astrologist, art history. So I am very science, psychology, I'm a learning junkie. So, and I'm a foodie, biohacker. I've literally biohacked my body to get, to cure my autoimmune disease, which almost could have took my life. And I was about 7 years ago, weeks away from having to have a colostomy. So limiting beliefs, getting past those has been something my life purpose has been about, and really unlocking that in others is one of the most exciting things that I've been able to experience. And I'm so blessed to be in an area, in a country that allows me to have this freedom to grow and see the opportunity. And I love this book, Magic of Thinking Big, but thinking big, in your imagination. So.
That is awesome. There's like 10 things I want to get into. And I always take notes when I've got someone like you on that's playing the game of business and life at a high level. Let's start. I'm going to shift gears real quick. Let's start with the limiting beliefs part of it. So how does someone, you may not have a background in business or a background, you probably didn't have multiple streams of income when you started in real estate. But talk about what you needed to do around, your mindset and your belief system to be able to, sort of think with the end in mind or whatever it looked like for you. But let's start with the limiting beliefs part of it, because I think that'll be really valuable.
Yeah. First of all, we might be new agents, but I don't think we give, like if you're getting your license or whether maybe you've been licensed for 15 years, but you're starting a team, or maybe you're building a team and you're still an emerging team leader. Even if you're an established team leader, we're in a different market. So we're all new agents in this market. But what did you do before that? What adversity have you faced before that? I do a lot of research on trauma healing. And from what I see is more people have trauma and what affects them, what the upbringing is, where our society is at today. But I was, when I got into real estate, I had been a teen mom. So when I was 18, first went to college, I was so excited to get out of my parents' house and out of Riverside to the beach in California. And I had to, put up with a lot of crap to be the top earner at the restaurants and that I was at. And the adversity in that itself helped me, when my feelings didn't get hurt so much in business. But a lot of the limiting beliefs that I had, I might have had confidence, but I didn't have high self-esteem. When I was growing up, I was made to feel by both my peers, I was bullied by my family. I was the weird one, and that I was never enough. that like and that's part of like why I'm here. So I use that like to prove them wrong sometimes, but also to just own that I am enough. And I still think I'm my own harshest critic. And there's still limiting beliefs that I still get through that I didn't even realize I had. But, I really love Albert Einstein's quote. He had a quote: logic will take you from A to Z. Imagination will take you anywhere. And I think back to when I was a kid. And, I've survived certain deaths a number of times, including crashing my motorcycle, which literally, had 18 stitches in my head, literally affected my brain. I tried to commit suicide when I was 14 years old for a year after that accident. Now, had we known what we known back then, we would have known that head injury is so traumatic can lead to, depression. But in that, sometimes it's what Brendan Bouchard says, it's fear and oppression that will hold you back from realizing your true potential. Now, if I have a fear and if I know I have a fear, I face it. So I was like, for instance, scared of public speaking. So what did I do? And when I got up in stage, I literally would be like this, forget what I'm saying. And then as I went to Toastmasters, I got more and more comfortable. So facing my fears. But I think the biggest thing that really did affect me wasn't my fears. It was oppression, and oppression from myself, oppression from really giving too much credit to what other people think about me, my family, my peers, doing things a little differently. I am different. I've been called crazy, and I claim that because that's where all the creativity comes from. But when I go back again to when I was a kid, and that imagination saved me. That imagine saved me from certain boredom, of like sometimes being in class when like it was easy, it was too easy, right? For me, at least. But I couldn't get along I didn't understand how to get along with my peers because they didn't talk the same language I did. I was interested in Leonardo da Vinci and they were talking about New Kids on the Block, and I thought that was me. I wasn't cool enough. But when I stopped, and I'd say in the last 2 years, I probably have given, I'm a cusser, I'm Irish, sorry, but I've given an F less about what people think of me. And the more, to an extent, like the people that you value and you need the feedback, of course, because you're always a work in progress, but worrying about how I was fitting in, and trying to fit in when I really wasn't meant to fit in, being able to have that individuality and doing things like thinking of different ways to do things. That was the way that worked for me, and I do believe there's an artist in each and every one of us. And our hard work is sometimes the best thing that we can give to other people. So the limiting beliefs, I think that if you say you can, what did Yoda say? If you say you can or can't, you're right, and just being cognizant and aware in the moment of the thoughts that I'm telling myself. Things like, I'm fat, I'm stupid, no one likes me. Now, I've been told that, and sometimes those words in my head, sometimes the words in your head or anyone's head, you don't know if those are your words, or maybe that was somebody maybe it was your mom, maybe it was your ex-husband, maybe it was a peer, maybe it was somebody in the second grade, your second grade teacher, who knows? But if you're more aware of what you're telling yourself, would you tell your best friend that? Of course not, and so realizing that so many of these words in my head weren't mine, I've been able to shed them, let them go. And again, like not putting all my value in other people's minds, like taking that value back and owning it.
Yeah, that's so good. I tell my wife sometimes she's putting herself out there. She's got a podcast. She just wrote a book, and she's getting really fearful about this book actually going out into the world. And the things that she said, I always just say to her, like, man, you would never talk to your best friend like that. You would be encouraging. You would be like, you can do it. So I really love that. All right. So let's break down. I would love to go into the biohacking because I geek out on all that stuff, but I'm not going to do it because we're not going to have time. Let's go into the business building side. So let's try to figure out a couple points in the journey where you had like a crossroads or a decision to make. Like usually it's like you're a solo agent and you're so freaking busy. You maybe have young kids and you're like, man, I have to hire my first hire or install systems? Or what was that first point for you in your journey to building this massive business that you can recall was like a come to Jesus kind of moment?
Well, I think a lot of people think that I always have to be doing things. It's true, but I do think there's a lazy person inside of me just trying to find a way to be lazy. But one of the first turning points, because there's been a number, was 3 weeks after I got my license. So 3 weeks after I got my license, October of 2003, it was the end of October. On Thanksgiving, I was getting calls. And at this point, I had worked 3 weeks straight, and I was used to being able to have like a day off before I got into real estate. And I was mad. I was like really mad, like, how dare you call me on Thanksgiving? But I also knew that it was a client need. It was a need in the industry. So I hired my first assistant a month into being an agent. Now, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not like, it wasn't the best setup in the world for probably both of us, but it worked for a couple of years. And I was able to offload all the crap I didn't want to do. I knew that paperwork was not something I wanted to spend time with. I wanted to be face to face. I wanted to be getting the business. I wanted to be building what's my marketing pillars. I also was a heavy investor back then. If I would have taken Robert Kiyosaki's advice, I wouldn't have done so, because I was building about 12 luxury homes. I owned 4 multifamily and about another 4 to 5 single family homes. And then 2008 called and wanted its money back. And so it was devastation when your like net worth is not just zero, it's like negative millions. And that's literally where I was at, thinking that I was setting my family up for the best. I wasn't spending a lot personally when I was making money in 2004 and 5 and 6. I was putting it back into, real estate investments, back into my business. And I had to pivot very fast in 2008, because when your card gets declined for lice shampoo for your kid, that's embarrassing, right? That's something I never, ever would want anybody else to go through, let alone myself. So I had to pivot. I got into REOs. I got into short sales. I was literally giving birth on my Braden, my 11-year-old, in 2010, right before the market turned around. And I was negotiating a short sale. And the doctor came in and said, the baby's head's crowning, you have to push. And I'm like, I'm with a supervisor. This goes to foreclosure tomorrow. And so I obviously knew I needed leverage, because I literally was not even going to push my baby out when it was ready. So, and that's not the way a child should come into the world. And so in 2011, things turned around. I did a lot of video. I did a lot of Google, a lot of blogging, putting in the hard work that didn't see all the immediate returns. But then when it turned around, I started to see immediate returns. And I think I flipped 50 homes with an investor that year. 2012, things shifted again. The hedge funds came in. I could no longer be at the auctions every day. So, and then that's when I really got into like marketing, using different pillars, building my pillars of business out. In 2014, I intentionally started the team that I have today. And my first buyer's agent in 2014, Marsha, she's still with me 8 years later. And last year she had her best year ever. And by June, she already made what she made all of last year. So, it's obviously there has been a lot of failures and mistakes all throughout the process. But the key thing now is I'm not alone in this journey anymore. I have great coaches. I have mentors. I have a tribe within EXP that we mastermind weekly. And if it wasn't for that collaboration, if I would have had that same tribe in 2005, 6, 2008, I would have known where to pivot. And I wouldn't have done what I did in 2008, which was not only was I trying real estate, I tried network marketing. I would try to sell you a World Ventures or like an energy drink. I also got into commercial, wasn't my game, but if I would have had that wise counsel, I would have known where to pivot before I had to, because if we change after we already have to, it's hard, you're late to the game. But if we change before we have to change, and knowing that we're going into a market that's just going to slow down, it's not going to be 2008, but it's going to be like a market we've never experienced before. It's just a changing landscape. We're in the technology like revolution right now. And with that, it's embracing that change and knowing that when you've gone through adversity and you can learn, take ownership, because no matter what happened in my business, it could have been an agent gossiping about me, leaving me in trash talk. It's still my fault. It's when you take 100% ownership, you always see a way that you could have been a better leader. And I'll spend the rest of my life, I'll never hit that mark of like perfection. None of us do. But what I really embrace is like looking up to the people that I admire. And like, say one of them would be like Tony Robbins, Tony, what kind of traits does Tony Robbins emulate? Courage, masculine, feminine energy, compassion, guts, going for it, taking action, and not letting his story, which, he has a story too, where his mom was very abusive, not let that story define you, but let that story fuel you. And when we all have stories, we all probably don't give ourselves enough credit for the crap we've already had to get through in our life. And simply by asking for help and learning to leverage with humans, learning to leverage with technology, there's an art and a science to everything, I find. But it is giving back to humans is, for me, it's like, that's why I'm so obsessed with psychology. It's one of the best gifts. I feel sometimes selfish because I like seeing people grow. I like seeing that spark ignite in them and for them to be able to see so much bigger than they ever have before. Because that imagination, if we go back to when we were children, we thought so big. I don't know what you wanted to do when you were a kid. I wanted to be president of the United States, but it was that imagination. If we can get back to that childlike awe, that imagination, you see your problems are so minute. They all can be solved. But thinking big has always been, thinking big, go big or go home has been my slogan.
Yeah, that is so good. So tell me, what would you tell the 2014 Jennifer about building a 300 million or let's call it a $500 million real estate team? What would you tell her 8 years ago?
I think I was too focused back then on the what's, and not on the who's. And meaning like, what did I need to do? What technology stack did I need? What CRM? What? And if I would have taken a pause back and looked in the mirror in my reflection of who did I need to be? Who do I need to have in my tribe? I would have been a different person a lot sooner than having to go through some of the trials that I went through. And I would have been able to set the people that align with me up with more success as well as myself. Because I believe as a team, all parts are part of the whole. High tides raise all boats. And being a leader really is, it's a sacrifice. And I think I think in today's age of like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we don't understand what sacrifice is involved along the way. But when you make that sacrifice, like love takes sacrifice. And when you make that sacrifice, it's worth it. You get your time back. You're helping other people. You're not just so self-absorbed in your own world, worried about your own bank account. By helping others win, you start winning. And the more people you help winning, the better you feel and the better your bank account feels.
That's awesome. What would Marsha say that your best characteristics, how would she describe you? Your first hire that's seen all of it. She's seen the good, she's seen the bad side, she's seen the ugly cries maybe or whatever. What would she say about you and how you've helped her over the years?
Well, first, I love that she's not an agent that's like, well, I can run a team so much better than you. The ones that have never ran teams, but she has told me she would never want to do what I do. So meaning that she appreciates and she understands all of the hard work behind the scenes of hiring the transaction coordinators, getting our systems in place, getting our marketing in place, as we grow, like making sure we provide the same level of service. And there is bumps along the way. But one thing she knows about me is that I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed about making my dreams come true. I'm obsessed about helping others make their dreams come true. Some doctors would diagnose me with an obsessive compulsive disorder, but, I think, and I don't just, I believe that it takes more than just a little passion. If you really, really want to get somewhere, it takes a level of obsession that most people don't embrace because they're, kind of sometimes just stuck in their own worlds.
Yeah, that's so good. So let's transition. Tell us a little bit about the book and how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So, it's funny, about 6 years ago, I've wanted to write a book my whole life. And I had a broker that told me, if you're going to write a book, stop talking about it and do it. So I actually stopped talking about it until a publisher came to me last year. And I was like, okay. So it took a year. It's been done, but writing a book, there's a lot involved in the process, but I put my blood, sweat, and tears into it. My media manager, who's been with me for 4 years, I absolutely love her. She's like an integral part of our growth. She, we wrote this together, and it's called The Renaissance Real Estate Agent: How to Unleash the Art of Systems in Your Business. And I go through everything of the who's, the what's, the financial advice, how to build a team, talk about professional leverage, personal leverage. And I really coach to the spiritual wheel. Like when we look at our lives, I do like what Gary Keller said is like life, you're never balanced, right? You never get to a point of total equilibrium that lasts more than a few minutes. But we can always use a visual wheel. It's very visual, so it's hard to talk about it. But in each segment, spirituality, love life, money, work, friends, where would you rate yourself on 1 to 10? And as you connect these dots, the first time I did that, I looked like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And mine looks more like a wheel. But it goes into some of those just atomic habits of, action blocking, both personal and professional. I mean, they say the top CEOs of Fortune 500 companies even calendar sex in with their wife because they know happy wife, happy life. So for me, I calendar everything in, but it is, it's really, I believe it. I know it might be partial, but it's a timeless book inspired by Leonardo da Vinci and a lot of his key principles. And we are in the Renaissance right now, especially here in Phoenix, but we are, it's a time of endings and beginnings. It's the time of easy real estate. It's ended. The time of challenges, but finding more opportunity in those challenges and who you have to be and leveling up. It's our time to take market share, and for the ones that are willing to roll up their sleeves, have a servant's heart, drop their ego at the door and just go to work, and working smarter, not harder. And again, I really heavily stress collaboration. One quote, I'll stop quoting you after this, but, it's not Charles Darwin said, it's not the most intelligent man nor the most capable, but the one quickest to pivot that ultimately survive. Now, Chris Voss took a little spin on that quote. It's not the smartest, it's not the most intelligent or capable, but the most collaborative man that ultimately survives. Because if you are collaborating, if you look at the 5 people around you, the people you spend the most time with, what are they telling you? Are they supporting you? It's not just the money, it's a collective energy. So in that, I am on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way to connect with me. That's where we'll be announcing our book, our site, how you can pre-order. If you want coaching, it's the easiest ways to DM me. I'm on YouTube. You can find me on Google, but the easiest, best way, and we look at our DMs every day. Just find me, Jennifer Wehner, on Instagram. Follow me, DM me, send me a shootout. And, if you're interested in growing your business, I'd love to learn more about you because every one of us has their own individual business and market and their own individual goals. And we can all achieve them. But I just find that the collaboration piece is integral in that journey.
Awesome. And I look forward to you crushing 500 million next year. This has been so good. I almost want to just personally chat with you about the biohacking and give us one thing. Let's end on this. One life-changing thing you did on the domestic side in terms of leverage.
One white. Well, okay. Probably one is cleaning. Like I actually, at the time, my husband, who's no longer my husband, I had to tell him why I was spending $150 a week on cleaning when I can do a better job, because I was raised by my mom. Man, my mom has OCD. I have OCD. Our houses are clean. So I know I can clean my house better than my cleaners can. But even if it was me sitting and watching Netflix for 4 hours, maybe that's the R&R I needed. But my dollar per hour was about 10 times the amount of the time I hired a cleaner for. So for every hour I cleaned the house, I was losing like $800 an hour. So the cleaning was the first thing that I took off. That was probably 2011, right as things turned around. I'm like, I need my house clean and beautiful. Like, and I don't have the time to do it because on Sundays are my family days. Sundays are the days I spend with my kids, and I am not going to be cleaning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because I think it's as much as, if you love to mow the lawn, then you should mow the lawn. But if it's not like passion for you, then there are people that are put on this earth to mow lawns and they love to do it. Maybe some of them don't love to do it, but that's really, really good. So definitely connect. Last name is Wehner. So Jennifer Wehner on Instagram. I would love to. When's the book coming out? When's it hitting?
We are going up for pre-sale next month, and then it'll be print in January. Awesome. And I have a big goal of selling 5,000 copies. I should sell a lot more than that. But anybody that buys a copy gets a free coaching session. I just came up with that. but truly, we're looking at growing internationally. I'm learning Italian right now because one of my bucket list items is to get to Italy and, maybe have some form of business there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Lars.